For every SNL member who can do no wrong, there's another who fans wish would never have stepped out on stage in the first place. You probably knew this one was coming. Yes, Jimmy Fallon was not built for SNL, like, at all. Why? The dude couldn't keep it together during his sketches.
David.
Don't get us wrong, we're not saying this is always a bad thing. Sometimes breaking character is what makes the entire sketch. A good example of this would be Bill Hader and the gang in The Californians.
At this time of day, it's gonna be jammed. Are you crazy?
Just get on the chin and get out of here.
But for the most part, it's best to stay in character, and Fallon must have been out sick on the day they taught this essential facet of acting. While he went on to star in a handful of movies after his tenure on SNL, like Fever Pitch, he's obviously best known today as the host of Late Night with Jimmy Fallon. Here, he's able to just be himself and goof around all he wants. Next up, we have to talk about Charles Rocket and the infamous 6th season of SNL that ran from November 1980 to April 1981. In case you don't remember, this was not a great time for the show. Not only did the entire cast and most of the writers leave, but so did series creator and producer Lorne Michaels, who was replaced by Gene Doumanian. While a few solid actors did play a part in this new iteration of the show, like Eddie Murphy, much of the new cast was and still is maligned for their less than satisfactory performances. Rocket was most definitely one of them. In addition to playing a weekend update anchor, he also had some recurring bits. One was the character of Phil Lively, a delusional game show host who walked around acting like everything in life was all part of the show.
Honey, I'm back inside, so what do you say?
His time as a cast member came to an end after he dropped the F-bomb during a parody of the soap opera Dallas.
Charlie, how are you feeling now after you've been shot?
Oh man, it's the first time I've ever been shot in my life. I'd like to know who did it.
After this incident, executive producer Doumanian and a handful of other cast members were also cut entirely from the show due to declining ratings. Rocket landed on his feet after his dismissal, starring in a number of successful films, including Hocus Pocus, Dances with Wolves, and Dumb and Dumber. As for TV, he secured roles on shows like Max Headroom, Touched by an Angel, and Moonlighting, in addition to making numerous guest appearances on others. Tragically, Rocket took his own life on October 7, 2005. Speaking of that wretched 6th season of SNL, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Gilbert Gottfried, another cast member who audiences didn't vibe with whatsoever.
Why did the moron throw the clock out the window? 'Cause he's a freaking moron!
Not only that, he didn't get along with his fellow actors or the show's writers, so he didn't show up in too many sketches to begin with. And unsurprisingly, he was among the actors fired alongside Charles Rocket after the F-bomb debacle. This in no way ruined his career, though. He went on to become known for his trademark voice and starred in a wide range of films over the ensuing decades, including Beverly Hills Cop 2, Aladdin, and A Million Ways to Die in the West.
Hi, you schmucks! 77 years ago, I was broke!
He appeared in an even more extensive range of TV shows, such as Night Court, Ren and Stimpy, Family Guy, and SpongeBob SquarePants, to name just a few. And of course, he did plenty of stand-up routines and Comedy Central roasts. Gottfried passed away on April 12, 2022 at the age of 67. Okay, here's another one you probably knew was coming.
You did one season of SNL?
Yes, arguably the worst season in its history.
He's referring to the 1985 to 1986 season, which is just about as infamous as the 6th one. While he definitely has comedic chops, SNL wasn't for him. He was canned with much of the rest of that season's cast. It goes without saying that RDJ went on, despite his well-chronicled personal struggles with substance abuse, to achieve monumental success in the film industry. These days, he's most associated with his role as Iron Man in the MCU, and will soon likely be just as renowned for his upcoming role as Dr. Doom. And back in 2023, he won numerous awards for his supporting role in Christopher Nolan's mega-hit Oppenheimer, including an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. Next up is Colin Quinn. Yes, we know he's an amazing stand-up comedian, but as far as SNL goes, it just wasn't really for him. Why? Well, he ultimately shines when he's able to just be himself. Being forced to read cue cards and play characters written by other people is the absolute opposite of that. As such, his sketches often fell flat in comparisons to others.
Hi, Chandler.
Hi, Chandler.
Oh, my stars, it's a wonder I simply didn't faint dead away. Heavens to Betsy.
After spending a few years on SNL, he went on to host The Colin Quinn Show in 2002. People seemed to like it, but that didn't stop it from being canceled after a measly 3 episodes. But it's fine. He made a quick return to the screen with the much more successful Tough Crowd with Colin Quinn, which made its debut on Comedy Central that same year and ran through 2004. More recently, he's shown up in a handful of Adam Sandler movies like Grown Ups, That's My Boy, and Sandy Wexler. He's also had recurring roles in Girls, The Awesomes, and Inside Amy Schumer, among others. And of course, he still does stand-up. Randy Quaid is another SNL cast member who people weren't too stoked about during his short tenure in the 1985 to 1986 season. Sure, he'd already established himself as a funny man in the OG National Lampoon's Vacation back in 1983, and before that, he'd made his mark in the realm of drama, especially with his Oscar-nominated role as Larry Meadows in 1973's The Last Detail. Still, his wide range of experience wasn't enough to prepare him for sketch comedy. In the end, it just wasn't his thing. He would go on to reprise his role of Cousin Eddie in 1989's National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, which is arguably what he's best known for when it comes to film. But it was his role in Brokeback Mountain that began his downward spiral and eventual departure from Hollywood altogether. In 2006, the year the movie was released to widespread acclaim, he sued the producers for essentially tricking him into accepting lower pay by claiming that the movie was low budget and not destined to make much money. He went on to drop the lawsuit that same year. A few years later, he and his wife Evie were arrested and charged with counts of conspiracy, burglary, and defrauding an innkeeper. And a year after that, they were arrested again for squatting, residential burglary, and vandalism. Eventually, they fled to Canada instead of appearing in court, where they were able to claim asylum and avoid extradition. Let's just say everything in Quaid's life post-2009 is pretty bonkers, and honestly a subject that deserves its own video. So we'll just leave it there for now and move on. Let's talk about Jim Breuer. This guy was a member of the cast from 1995 to 1998, and he's probably most remembered for the recurring Goat Boy sketch that many believe was, let's say, overdone a bit. Right, Goat Boy?
Well, I just think
He's also remembered for imitating Joe Pesci, which we'll admit was pretty spot on.
I hear you got a new movie coming out. What's it like Scarface 2, a Bing Bang thing going on?
No, it's a documentary about Shakespeare.
Still, it wasn't enough to keep him on the air for more than a few seasons. After his tenure on SNL came to an end, he went on to host The Jim Breuer Show on MTV. Also, in addition to doing stand-up, he snagged roles in various movies and TV shows such as Titan A.E., Half-Baked, and Family Guy. These days, he's still doing stand-up and running his own YouTube channel. Next up is Jay Mohr. He was a member of the cast from 1993 to 1995, and it wasn't a good time for him. However, it wasn't really his acting abilities that earned him a place on this list. It was more the fact that he stole a joke. Yep, he was so stressed out by the atmosphere at SNL and the overall pressure to succeed that he decided to pawn someone else's joke as his own. As he wrote in his memoir Gasping for Airtime, 2 years in the trenches of Saturday Night Live, I took Rick Shapiro's act and wrote it down word for word and submitted it as my sketch. Unsurprisingly, the producers ended up firing him at the end of that season. Lucky for Mohr, he was able to find success after this major flub. Some of his major film credits include Jerry Maguire, Small Soldiers, Picture Perfect, and more recently, Air. As for TV credits, he's appeared in a variety of shows, such as The Simpsons, The West Wing, and more recently, Winning Time, The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty.
The locker room, the media, these days they want personalities that jive with the fans, Cap.
Oh, and how can we forget that he famously hosted the stand-up competition show Last Comic Standing from 2003 to 2006. This one might surprise you, both because it stretches all the way back to the inaugural season of the show in 1975, and because it isn't just a single person. The Land of Gorch was a recurring bit that featured an entire host of Jim Henson's puppet creations. However, they were sort of, grotesque in comparison to the Muppets everyone had come to know and love on Sesame Street. And that was the entire point. Henson didn't want to solely be remembered for working on children's TV shows, so this was his way of branching out. Unfortunately for him, the humor often fell flat.
You're still drunk.
You're still ugly.
And being that he and his team disagreed with the direction the SNL writers insisted on taking with his characters, they all eventually agreed to part ways after the first season ended. Turns out, this was a good decision all around. In 1976, The Muppet Show debuted on American television and became an instant hit, with Miss Piggy, Fozzie Bear, and Gonzo making their first appearances alongside existing characters who had already been introduced on Sesame Street. Over the course of its original run, it was nominated for 21 Emmy Awards, winning 4. Countless iterations of the show have been made over the years, and the characters are still popular today. And finally, we've come to Victoria Jackson. Though she spent 6 entire seasons on the show, Jackson is assuredly one of the most hated SNL cast members of all time. This is partly because she has a pretty annoying voice and just isn't that funny.
That dumb thing you do on that show, is that just an act?
As far as I know.
Okay.
It's also due to the fact that she's widely accepted as having gone off the rails a bit after her tenure. While she did go on to appear in a handful of movies and TV shows after her time on SNL, her career has mostly veered off into obscurity due to becoming very outspoken about her politics, in a way that you could fairly say comes off as alienating. She also has a long history of being antagonistic towards queer people. As reported by the Los Angeles Times back in 2023, she attended a city council meeting that year in Franklin, Tennessee, and used the Bible to denounce homosexuality. She also took the opportunity to promote her YouTube channel before being cut short. These days, she posts a lot on Instagram, mostly selfie videos where she talks about religion.